is up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Hopefully, everyone's having an amazing day. Let me tell you something. The weekends, they go way too quick. We really need a Monday through Thursday work week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off every week. Because 2 days, I mean, the time you get stuff done, one of your days is gone. Then you just got to sit down and relax. Next thing you know, you're preparing for the work week. I'm not about that life, but crypto's going to change that for all of us, folks. Something feels off in the best way possible. Don't try to twist this and be like, Rip's bearish. Rip ain't bearish. Trust me. Rip was bearish. You would know he's bearish. Something feels off in the best way possible. Everyone's out there screaming, the bull run's over. Michael Saylor is going to get liquidated. Bitcoin's going to 30K. Chill. The charts, the inflows, the macro setups, they're telling a completely different story here. And what is unfolding right now, what I think it is, then the real bull market, guess what? It hasn't even started yet. I'm going to break that down. I covered this in a video in the past. We're going to get back into it. Plus, all the events around us and what they are telling us. We're going to start right here. We're going to skip over the prices. Look, the prices are the same from this morning. We might be down a little bit. Nothing crazy, nothing too concerning. Remember, Bitcoin needs to invalidate 74K. XRP needs to invalidate 50K for us to officially declare we are in a bear market. And what I'm about to tell you to set up everything you're going to see, you're going to have that light bull moment. So let's talk about what we see here. And actually, I want to jump over to this first. I put out this tweet thread. I suggest you go give it a read. But here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. The narrative that XRP missed the bull run, it only exists because people forgot to zoom out. And I see all you in the comments, and my response to 99.9% of you is zoom out for a second. The entire market structure of this market points to something way smarter and way more bullish. People keep saying XRP didn't perform. But what if it already did perform? And nobody realized that that move was the finale of the previous cycle. I want you to think back to late 2017. Maybe you weren't in the market. Maybe you were. I know I was in the market. I just got in. Let me set this up for you. XRP got clowned on for about 10 months straight. Bitcoin and Ethereum pulled all the attention. Retail wrote it off. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, XRP didn't just move, it detonated. A 30,000% move in under a year. More than a 30x in the final weeks into early 2018. It didn't run first, it never does. It ran last, like it always does. 2013, 2017, 2020, and 2024. XRP moved last. When retail had given up watching. Now I want you to fast forward. From October of last year, 2024, to January of 2025, XRP quietly repeated the exact same behavior. From 50 cents to $3 plus, depending on which exchange you were looking at, a 500 to 700% surge in just that November to January window. And I'll highlight it on the screen if you want to keep up with me. Mainstream financial outlets even highlighted how XRP ended 2024 with a triple-digit return as the markets reevaluated it after the legal clarity. That wasn't random noise. That was a classic end-of-cycle blow-off, nearly identical in structure to 2017. And what happened after January? XRP cooled 25 to 35%, Bitcoin cooled 20 to 25%, total cryptocurrency market cap, it slid from 4 trillion to 3 trillion, macroeconomics tightened, liquidity drained, and altcoins bled out. Now folks, that's not a bull run. That is a hidden bear market. The reset phase nobody recognizes until after it's over. Now look at the XRP to Bitcoin chart. The ratio is sitting on a massive multi-year breakout level. The same kind of structure it formed before its previous monster move. When this ratio breaks, historically XRP doesn't just move. It absolutely teleports. And today, the fundamentals are the best that I've ever seen in my 8 years in the market. Your SEC case is over. Administration is openly referencing XRP in global reserve discussions. The XRP ledger rails are being built into the banking system. You got ETFs, derivatives, index products, and custody rails starting to go live. You have a supply that is tightening and institutional demand, which is finally awakening, which you just saw at swell. Retail still thinks it missed a run, but the long-term structure, well, it says the opposite. November to January was the end of the previous bull. All of 2025 was the stealth bear. And what we're entering now, it's the start of the real XRP bull market. Now, let's look at what we have going down this week coming up. You got multiple Fed officials speaking all week. You know the drill. Coded messaging, hints at policy shifts, and the market trying to read between the lines. Every comment moves risk assets instantly. November 19th, the FOMC. This is the big one. Minutes matter more than the meeting because they showed what the Fed really debated behind the closed doors. The last time minutes hinted at tightening, crypto instantly shed nearly 100 billion. If your minutes now show loosening or even hesitation, it flips the script bullish. November 20th, your US labor market data. This is gasoline. If labor cools, rate cuts come back into play, liquidity then flows into crypto. ETFs get massive inflows. XRP finally gets its macro breakout. Combine all three of these, and we're looking at a week where volatility isn't just expected, it is guaranteed. Markets like this don't drift sideways, they snap. And when XRP is perched at its structural breakout levels while ETFs ramp up, this is the kind of setup that triggers a full-on shift in the markets. And then look what we have coming in the rest of November. So your final 2 weeks of November is straight fire. You had Canary Capital, which set records from a very small asset manager, I guess we can call them firm, right? They launched 3 days ago. Day one was bigger than BlackRock's first day's Bitcoin ETF volume. That alone tells you that your institutions are hungry for XRP exposure. Now here comes the avalanche. Frankie T could be launching either Monday or Tuesday. They got 1.5 billion or trillion, on assets under management. 21 shares, 2 days after Frankie. Bitwise, 1 day after Frankie. Coin shares, 2 days after that, the 20th to 22nd. And then at the end of the month, you got Grayscale and Wisdom Tree. We have 7+ XRP ETFs going live in a 10-day period. This has never happened to a top 10 asset before. Never, folks. But here's where it gets wild. Because XRP exchange reserves already are at historic lows. Around 3 to 3.5 billion across all major exchanges. Institutions, they need billions. Exchanges have millions. Do the math. Day one of the ETF alone consumed tens of millions of XRP. Multiply that by 7 issuers. Multiply that by weekly inflows. At scale, ETFs don't source from exchanges. They go to over-the-counter desk. But the OTC desk, they don't have enough either, which means eventually they must go to the open markets. And when they do, what happens? The supply shock becomes violent, price doesn't climb, it absolutely explodes and it reprices itself. That's how Bitcoin jumped from 40K to 73,000 after its ETF approval. Now imagine the same mechanic, but in an asset with a fraction of the available supply and a fraction of the sell pressure and a global payments use case. Add in derivatives, futures, and institutional rails launching at the same time. This is why I keep saying we're not entering a bull run. We are entering a supply crisis. And Bitwise's CEO, guess what? He agrees with me. And their ETF is going live next week on the 19th or the 20th. They're not posturing here. Bitwise is preparing. When a TradeFi CEO begins echoing the same points that I've been making for quite some time now. Utility, institutional rails, global sentiments, low supply, regulatory clarity, that is not a coincidence, everyone. That is your flip. It means the narrative has shifted from XRP is the outsider to, well, XRP is the institutional play. XRP is the liquidity play. XRP is the infrastructure play. XRP is the bull market play. Folks, I'm sorry to break it to you, but the bull market isn't coming. It is about to hit, and XRP is positioned to lead the way. So zoom out for a second, relax, look back to where we were a year ago to today, and you should be pleasantly surprised. And when this thing climbs up into that double-digit territory, I'm going to be here with the biggest smile on my face saying, I told you it was coming. I hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, folks. This was a banger. Let's go enjoy some football now. I'll see all y'all on the next one.